Hello, EDUC 713. We are on the final home stretch of this course. I hope you're feeling like you are in the home stretch. Again, your work has been outstanding. So I want to walk you through the final module, and you have until July 11th to finish because we're building in an extra week in this course for the July 4th holiday. So for week 4, you only have one discussion topic, but there are several questions involved in this one topic. So I want to talk through them a little bit. And here it is. What are the advantages of using a data warehouse for school systems? So we're looking at something like IQ, for example, that would record students' test scores, and then you could print out information about your class. How quickly is your school system moving to purchase the data warehouse? How is technology impacting formative and summative assessment in positive ways? So the first two questions are a little bit related, whether you use IQ or not. As a media specialist, I don't as much. I'm not sure what Synergy does, but perhaps there are some different components there, so you can discuss that. This second question is third question, sorry, is how technology is impacting formative and summative assessment in positive ways. I know not too many people are super fans of standardized testing. However, there is some advantage to it. The NWA or MAP test is calibrated so that each question, if you get it right, you get a harder question. If you get it wrong, you get an easier question, and it really does give a pretty accurate assessment of where a student is at. I know if you have a student new to district or new to country and you don't have a lot of information on them, that can be a good way of getting that information. Of course, the downside, which I think we've seen in many of our schools, is that standardized testing is monopolizing our computer labs several times a year. And now that the MCA is also online, it's even more time is used for testing. But I am very curious to read how you feel technology is impacting testing in positive ways, because I think there is something positive about it, even though there are other feelings you may have about standardized testing. And then this last question may seem unrelated in this discussion forum, but it actually is related particularly to your discussion on ebooks last module. But how has a digital version of the Bible changed the way you use it? Even if you don't own a Kindle, you maybe have a version of the Bible on your phone, or you've seen one, or you've even used a website like Bible Gateway. I have recently been introduced to the Blue Letter Bible website, in which I am able to access Hebrew and Greek words, and that has been so interesting to me to see what the places mean. For example, Palm Sunday, when Jesus goes to Bethphage or Bethphage, that's the house of the unripened fig, which, if you look at unripened figs, you can't eat them until they have been boiled and pierced, which is kind of some interesting foreshadowing into that passage. But anyway, being able to have the original Greek and Hebrew has been transformative for me, but perhaps you like the digital version of the Bible for other reasons as well. Maybe being able to compare translations has been helpful, or being able to hear it read to you. All of those things. Somebody from my church actually records the liturgy each week on a podcast. I'm able to listen to it from my phone. Anyway, that's a little bit different topic than assessment, but still a relevant one in this course, looking at how our faith can be integrated. So again, for week 4, there's only one forum, but there's several components within that forum. Please address all of the questions here. All right. And with that, I want to go to the final project / assignment for Module 4. They are the same thing. So some of you I know have already started to work on the final project, because I've already gotten a notification in my Gmail that you've shared your Google Doc with me. which is great. A couple things to note, there's some detailed instructions here as well as a final grading rubric here. Please refer to both of them. But the biggest thing you need to do is this. You need to click on the EDUC 13 final project template and it will download to your screen. Then you're going to go to Google Drive and I'm going to go to New, and I'm just going to move my window over a little bit for you. I'm going to go to New and I'm going to go File Upload and I'm going to go to all my files and I want the Bethel template. I'm going to open it. It's going to upload, and then when I click on it, it gives me a choice to open in Google Docs. This is what I want to do because I'm actually going to convert it then from Microsoft Word to Google Doc. Okay, and once it's here, you can click the blue share button and you can share it with your partner for this project, and please share it with me. My email address is up there in the corner, jch93249@bethel.edu. The reason you want to use Google Docs and to share it with each other so that you can work on this collaboratively. When you're all done, I do ask that you go to File and you go to Download as Microsoft Word. And if you could just please upload that finished product into Moodle, I would greatly appreciate that. When you upload an assignment into Moodle, then I'm able to use the electronic rubric to grade it. So that is the reason behind that. So please do both. Okay, a little bit about this project. As tech integrationists, media specialists, and sometimes even as teachers, you're asked to serve on committees to determine what technologies are the best for your district to adopt. About 5 years ago, our district formed a committee because they wanted to decide if we should go to a one-to-one initiative, if we should bring your own device, what do we do? And so a committee was formed with administration, with teachers, with tech integrationists, etc. And they actually looked at neighboring schools to see what they had done. The purpose of that is to just kind of look at the different software options that are out there. They also looked at infrastructures of different schools because, as you know, you need a strong wireless infrastructure often in order to launch some of these programs. From there, they looked at the academic impact of adopting technology. Does it actually improve student achievement? That was the question our board really wanted to know. You can also look at do different models cost a different amount? I think a lot of you are pretty familiar that Chromebooks are quite a bit cheaper than iPads. What our district ended up doing in the end is a bring your own device program. They called it the Phoenix program. And students were able to bring in their own device, and they also had a few classroom computers provided. So if you didn't have a device, you're still able to participate. But before they got to adopting all of that, you have to come up with a proposal like this. So think of it like a sales pitch in a way. You and your partner, you can either decide on your school or your partner's school, or you can come up with a fictitious school. That's your decision. And then the technology being proposed, it could be smart boards, it could be iPads, it could be Chromebooks, it could be virtual reality. Whatever you think might be a good technology to adopt for your school. Okay, and then you put in your names and dates. And you can certainly just fill in this Google Doc as you see fit. Here's a nice table of contents already there for you. It is automated, and it explains that, but you're able to modify your content from here. Okay, as you continue to scroll, you're going to be asked for your school background. If you choose one of your schools, then you want to fill in this information. If you're making up a school, I need to know the size, the population, the grades being taught. Administrative structure, if I could just know maybe the superintendent, principal, assistant principal, what you have going on there, where you're located, at least if you are urban or metro or outstate, what existing technologies you have, and I would indicate whether or not you have wireless infrastructure. Your typical capital budget, you can guess on this, but boy, that is certainly a factor when you're considering adopting technology. And then limitations and constraints. Perhaps your district recently passed a bond, and so maybe the community is not so open to another bond. Maybe you haven't had one in a while. That definitely is something to consider. Then you're going to describe the goals for technology adoption. Describe the technology selected and defend selecting this technology over other technologies that could be invested in. So ultimately, you're going to be comparing out technologies in this document and choosing one. And so you're saying, this is why we chose Chromebooks. This is why we chose a bring your own device. Okay, and then you're just going to fill this out. Impact on your system. I think we had to add more switches in our district because we just have more people accessing the internet all the time. What research is out there supporting technology? How are you going to monitor the success of this implementation? Are you going to have tech integrationists that are going to check up on these things or observe people using it? Are you going to use surveys? And then here's where you want to compare the different models because it's more effective if you go to a school board or a decision-making team having shown that you did your research. You may be totally sold on the Chromebook, but you might also want to just show them why it's so good in comparison to other products. And you'll note that the chart is kind of running out of the page. If you go into the general discussion forum in our Moodle site, one of your classmates has figured out how to format this in a way that it fits on the page. Okay, then you're going to describe the adoption process, and it's more than just purchasing the technology. It also involves training staff and spending time on that training. Sometimes you can bring in people from TIES or other organizations, and sometimes the training will have to be done in-house, but that definitely costs money and time, and so you're going to have to describe how that would best work for you. You're going to have a budget. Perhaps you don't go school-wide at first. With our Project Phoenix, we started with just 8th grade. I think just 8th grade social studies, maybe even. And then each year kind of went from there to adopt the technology. You need a policy covering the technology. So this is a little bit different example, but as we started to get iPads for teachers, we had to come up with a policy so that if they took it home over the summer, there was a plan in place if the iPad got dropped or it got stolen out of your car or what have you. Or on the student side, if there is something inappropriate found on the device or it gets damaged or lost, you need to have some kind of policy which ahead of time communicates what the consequences are. And then finally, briefly describe how you manage this project and divided work responsibilities. This is pretty real world that you would have to work together to create a proposal like this as a team. So I just want to know how that went for you because this is collaborative in nature. And then finally, I just want to tell you that if you go way up to the top of the Moodle page, right here, Final Project Partners is where you're going to find your partner for this project if you don't know already. So I think that is all I need to say for module number 4. Again, you have till July 11th to turn it in. Please email me if you have any questions or I can be of any help in any way.